7 o'clock, having the quorum. Take up the first item is minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 29th. Have a second?
Second.
A second from Sarah. All those in favor? Someone's got to... Okay. Okay. We'll call Sarah.
No, I seconded. I don't know. Somebody's trying to speak, but I can't figure out who it is.
I know.
I think it's Phil.
Oh, yeah, Phil, we can't hear you very well. No.
Got helium.
This same thing happened another time, Phil. We can't.
Yeah, to someone else, wasn't it?
You sound like a chipmunk.
All right.
I should use my microphone.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, second. Okay. All those in favor? I'll start again, Sarah.
Aye.
Phil?
Abstain?
John?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Jack? Aye. All right, 4-0-1. Next item, we have a A&R for Lot 4, Boyden Place. And the issue with this is because it's an ongoing subdivision and it's not owned by the town, you can't A&R it. The only way you can do this, according to 81W of the Mass General Laws on subdivision control, is you would have to file a refile. So that's the way to handle it. I mean, anybody's on the board in the past, if they remember, they did it up at Ross Commons, or not Ross Commons, Olmsted. So that's the only way to do it. It's under our subdivision control right now, so you can't do it. So we have no choice other than to not endorse. And if you read the book that the state put out a while ago, to prevent people from coming back and doing this on the sly, so to speak, so that you're either going to be part of the town on a road, it's a public road, you can do the A&R, or while it's under our subdivision, you have to do it through the formal hearing. So the only way you can do this would have to come back and request a modification to the subdivision. So does everybody understand that? Okay. I'll make a motion to not endorse the A&R due to it's under subdivision control law now and can't per subdivision control 81W. Do I have a second?
Second.
There's a second from Kate. All right. All those in agreement with not signing or not endorsing, we'll start. Kate?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And Jack, aye. So the ayes have it. So he's going to do it. He'll have to come back on the regular subdivision for us. Okay. Next item is going down. Kate, you have something for fall town meeting?
I do.
Okay.
So obviously we all know affordable housing is an issue for Walpole. And because we're not at our 10% state mandate, we fall victim to the 40Bs. In addition, I'd like to see us help our own residents that may qualify for affordable housing. The selectmen revived the housing partnership, I would guess about 4 years ago, about the same time I got on this board. And during that time, it has really bothered me that we had no power to enforce any affordable requirement on the big proposals that came before us. One of the first projects that I heard as a member of this board was the Pulte project at Walpole Woodworkers. I was new and eager, and I read all the rules and regulations and saw that it said we could suggest 10% affordable. I came to the meeting all set, figuring this was it. We were going to be able to help our older residents. And I was clearly told there was no appetite for that. What was most disturbing is that it was so easy to shoot us down. There was no conversation. It was just a simple no thanks. And I think our chairman can attest to the fact that I have complained about it to him, and Joe Moraski would say the same thing. I've complained and complained to them about it over the years. I fully understand that the Housing Partnership, our board, and zoning board are collaborating on a proposal, and I think that's good. That being said, we heard from a local attorney at our meeting on the tennis courts how much the previous proposal needed legal revision aside from all the other issues that came forward. In addition, the prior plan was really elaborate. It was long, and it had the next article with it, the housing trust. It made a whole lot of change that extended far beyond satisfying the 10% and helping our residents. I was also concerned that it went on without limits, and I voiced this concern loudly. Walpole wants to do the right thing. We want to add affordable housing. We want to help our residents, but we also don't want to become a nucleus for affordable housing. In addition, I've received calls from many, many residents that are not willing to accept the housing trust under any circumstances. They feel it gives far too much fiscal power to an appointed group. And as it was presented to us previously, those two articles go hand in hand. They have to have each other. All of this combined has me concerned that finding a compromise or solution, although achievable, it's definitely achievable, may take more time. In the meantime, we go on with no limits. I feel the Housing Partnership is definitely the group that should ultimately come up with an agreeable solution for all residents. I'm certainly not looking to take their charge away from them. However, I don't want us to continue to sit here and be forced to sit on our hands and have no power when these projects get proposed. As a result, I want to suggest that we propose a very simple article for fall town meeting that allows us to require a fair amount of affordable housing to any multifamily projects that should be proposed in the near future. It does not mean Housing Partnership has to stop working or the combined group should stop working. It is a simple solution that addresses the immediate issue at hand. It gives them a chance to take the time needed to work on the plan thoroughly so that it works and so that it gets accepted, not just accepted at town meeting, but accepted by the community. After all, we have to remember a good part of the work was done during COVID, so the community didn't take part in a lot of it. There wasn't an opportunity for broad collaboration. So I called our chairman and I vented and I asked him what he thought. And I asked him if he was agreeable because of his experience and time on the board, if he would assist me in keeping it simple and getting the wording together. So Jack, if you don't mind, I'd like to turn it over to you and let you share what you thought, and you don't have to give commentary on how much I talk. Or vent.
I think a time limit on Al Sarabi's run out into August. Yeah, when Kate asked this and she come up with something, it was very simple. And this, I think, what you said before is whatever happened to the 10% requirement that we had in the AQV, and that got changed. So it's a very simple thing that anytime we have multifamily housing going in the town, that any project over 10 units must have at least one affordable. So for every 10 units, you have one affordable. That keeps you a nice 10%. And what the other thing is, because the state mandates 10%, not to penalize anybody, if we do reach a point where we're well beyond the 10%, that whoever's proposing the development would not have to provide the 10%. It would make sense. The whole goal here is to keep us, I've heard before, people want to keep 40Bs out, which I don't quite understand because I guess everybody wants affordable and that's what 40Bs are. But I like to, if the state mandates 10, I go with 10. The rule's a rule, and it's pretty simple like that, is any project over 10 require one. And this would apply to all apartments and condominiums because we can't do it to under single family houses because you can't do any special permits per mass subdivision control law. So this would all apply to what we have. So what would have been nice is if this was already in effect between Russo's and Corcoran's there downtown and Pulte's and also Bristol's. You know, there's probably almost 1,000 units. We would have been at nice 10%, but we lost out on it. and this is a very simple one that I think most people can understand. I think most people understand the 10% requirement for the state. So therefore, it seemed like let's bring it forward and get something done. Because I think we've been the lightning rod for this for a reason I don't know, because we're not really charged with it. When Kate brought it up, and we kind of had it before, I said, fine. And I think we should go forward with this for fall town meeting. And with that being said, and Kate said hers, any comments from the rest of the board? Phil?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, the intent of that joint committee was to get something out in time for hopefully for the fall meeting. So this sounds very much like what the whole intent of inclusionary zoning is. So, so I guess I don't see why this is necessary and why we shouldn't let the joint committee do its job. I don't think that there were so many defects that in the inclusionary zoning, there were maybe a couple things that need to be changed. I know there was a lot of questions that were brought up at the meeting at the tennis courts, but those were at the last minute, and there really wasn't time for anyone to answer those, which I think hopefully the joint committee will do. So I don't really think this is necessary. I think that the inclusionary zoning bylaw is the way to go. The whole sense of can we have too much affordable housing? I mean, I don't think that should be a problem we should be thinking about, because I don't know if we could have too much affordable housing. Also, the trust, the trust was a separate article, and it didn't make any sense if the affordable housing, if the inclusionary zoning did pass. But if the inclusionary zoning passed and the trust didn't pass, that there's other ways that might have worked out until the trust did get passed. I don't know why people were worried about the management of the trust, because I forget the dollar amount, but the select board had to approve any disbursement of trust funds over a very modest amount. So it wasn't like there was just going to be this small board deciding where to spend the money. I don't think that was a problem at all. Maybe people weren't aware of how that was structured. So in summary, I really think we should wait. We should let the joint committee do its job. I think that we were very close in getting to an agreement. I know Sarah had made a number of really good recommendations that I think would have addressed a lot of the problems or a lot of the questions that people had. And I think we should let the joint committee do their job.
Okay. Who else? Sarah?
Yeah, so I applaud the effort, and I think it's great. But I also echoes Phil's comments that we have a joint committee that's formed, that's tasked with, coming up with a good solution for Walpole. And I don't think we've had a meeting since we had that first joint meeting, but it was amazing. It was great. I mean, there was collaboration, there was, offering of expertise, there was cooperation. I mean, there was great ideas. So I really think we should see that through. But I also don't want to turn down any bad ideas. Turn down any good ideas. So Katie, if you have language for an article, I'd love to see it, and I'd be happy to, review it and see, like, maybe that's the language that the joint committee wants to look at. So I don't have an issue with that. But it's really important to get into the details. And so, I think your idea and the joint committee idea is the same. So it's really important, like, how it looks on paper. So I don't know if you have language worked out. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, my idea, not to interrupt you, Sarah.
Yeah.
My idea, it was very simple. It was just a few sentences. It's not elaborate like what was proposed. And that was the intent of it, to keep it extremely basic and let the committee keep working. I think that there was so much involved in that article that was not just about affordable housing and increasing it and helping the community. And that's why I kept mine extremely simple.
Yeah, well, still, I mean, the language has to work with the rest of the bylaws, so, you know, if you wanna send that to the board, I'd love to see it. And I also said this in our joint meeting, like, even though there are some complexities to what was proposed, with the IZB bylaw, it also gave some flexibility and some important, you know, considerations and some important negotiating points for the town as they work with developers in providing affordable. So, you know, there was some recognition that, you know, of the financial impacts of building those affordable units. And so there was some consideration for the developers, and I do think that's important. So yes, it was a little bit more complex than a few sentences, but I think, you know, that's important. So again, I'd love to see your few sentences, your proposal, and I'd be happy to, you know, see if that could work with us.
All right, John?
Hi. We had our first meeting a couple weeks ago, I think now, and several people threw out a lot of good ideas. The complexity of the bylaw was raised. Comparing it to other towns, they had a much more concise, maybe not as flexible an idea. So the complexity of the bylaw was raised. Several people mentioned that we want to cut it down so it's more understandable, more workable for everyone. I also raised the point concerning the trust and the secondary article, and pointed out that I thought that was a very bad idea, and it's something that we're definitely going to look into, because I feel it's a totally unnecessary option to allow the developers to go that route. The purpose of the inclusionary zoning bylaw was to create low-income housing, not allow developers to bypass it. We're just getting started with the committee, so obviously I don't feel myself anyways that there's any timetable involved with us at this point. If Katie's option is something that can be done quickly and it's a stopgap measure, kind of something that can be put into place and then set up so that it has to be renewed on a yearly basis, even, or a bi-yearly basis, so that when it comes time, when we finish going through this inclusionary zoning bylaw and have a more finished product, we can then bring this in and take out what Katie is proposing, which, if nothing else, is going to be good in the short term.
You all set?
Yep.
Okay. All right, what John said made sense. Is you can always take something out. So if nothing's come forward for the fall town meeting, we don't want to miss the boat again. So if this is in there and then you get something later on that's all put together, and you can always make this part of the group's inclusionary work, is to say, you know, strike this section and add all this. And like John said, we can do it pretty easily. It's a pretty simple article, and you put it in, and if you need to take it out at the next town meeting, you know, when it's all, the other one's all done, I agree. You very simply take it out. But what we shouldn't be doing is sitting around waiting. Right now, the issue is, we also heard about the MBTA and whatever that law is. I'm not 100% sure whether it's approved. I heard different ways, but you can do 15 houses per lot, and so we need something, because we can't keep going down the road. Also heard, I haven't heard the final update on, like, Gilmore's was up for sale. So if they come in again and they do like the other two next to railroad station with nothing, we're that much further in the hole. So if this goes on now, then we'll have some protection. So let's do a stopgap, my opinion. So I think at the next meeting, bring the article forth for a vote to put on the town, fall town meeting. So, okay.
So can I just say something? If I'm not at the next meeting,
Mm-hmm. You can
I
still put
would
it.
still like
I'll carry it.
you guys bring it forward.
Yeah, I'll carry it. Okay, if you're not on here, I will carry it forward. So that's what you want to do. It makes sense, and it's, you gotta do something. If you got a leak in the roof and you can't replace the whole roof, you might as well fix the leak right now. And that's kind of what I think John's alluded to. So, with all that being said, we do
Jack,
have-
can I just make a quick comment?
Yep.
So I just want to make two comments. One about the trust and why that was important, and that is that.
So I know you kind of rolled that into it. I don't want to go off on the trust only because that's not what was being said tonight. I know we kind of got into it, but so I don't want you to go on the trust because the trust isn't on our agenda here. So
I only brought it up because when people criticize it without really knowing the whole purpose of it, I feel that leaves the audience with thinking the trust is a bad idea.
Well, in my opinion, it is a bad idea. If you want to get into that, we can do 2 hours on that other people are holding the money. I don't think that's the way to do it, but that's why I don't want to go down the road, Phil, because we could go on.
There's a good purpose for the trust in regard to affordable housing that we all need to be cognizant of.
Phil, I'm not going to have you. Don't start doing the sales for the trust, please. We're doing what we have, so we'll move on to the next one, which is now at 7:15. Okay, so we're all set with this now. I can't do Marie. All right. Just Kate told. Just so everybody knows, anybody waiting for 429 Main Street, they're not going forward tonight. I can't open that to tell you that. I can tell you indirectly, but it's not on until 7:30. They've asked for a continuance without opening it up. So anybody out there in the audience who's waiting for 1429 Main Street, none of that's going to go. So if I can do that in about 4 minutes, but I don't want to waste time because we have another continued hearing at 7:15. Okay. And with that being said, that we have I will read it now, that we have a continued public hearing, May 20th at 7:15. Excuse me, from the Al Sarabi Family Revocable Trust, 32 Starlight Drive, having submitted a property on Assessors Map 4, Parcel 4, and in the rural district. And the reason we're reading this again is per our rules and regulations, is once you continue more than 3 times, and renotice all so that we don't lose them on their way, because when you extend and that's one way to lose people. So with that being said, it's basically a renotice, a continuation of our hearing. And with that being said, I don't know why he's dead on in my screen. I wish I had something to change.
Until you tell me what date this hearing is going to be held again, I'm going to hang in here. This is Lynn Crandall Vendetti. I live next to that property, and I will hang in here all night.
You don't have to hang in all night. We'll let you go right now. When is it, Kate? Yeah. Yeah. Did we get enough time? Hold on, Lynn. Did we all clear for extensions for Marini to July? If we go into July. But he doesn't give us to July. Oh, so we can put them on in July. Everybody wants to go on June 17th because no one's ever ready. We got to continue them. I'm getting all mad here with, start me off. I mean, you know.
You're mad. I'm pissed. Can we finally get this done? I want to know what's going on with that property with Mariani next door.
Okay, excuse me. I'm trying to figure out.
I'm muting you now.
I don't know. It gets July 15th. Okay, we'll continue. We can't vote it yet, but we will be doing the Marini hearing 1429 on July 17th, 15th at 7:15. We'll be done right after the hearing here with Al Sarabi officially. Okay. All right, we'll pick it up from there. All right, with that being said, we will now open the continued hearing, Al Sarabi, and just getting my stuff together. Mr. American, I know you're out there. Dan, before we dive into it, could you tell everybody when the last time you guys appeared in front of us so everybody has an idea?
I believe it was in February.
Hmm?
I believe it was in February, January 7th, I think is what I have for the last meeting.
And we didn't do anything on that date, did we?
We made a presentation. We went through the project on the 7th.
Okay, so the last time, okay, just so everybody understands, the last time we had this was in January. So now here we are. So with that being said, I know you got some new info or plans. So why don't you take it from there, Dan? And anybody watching, and I think most of the people were here before, we'll allow the applicant to explain, and I'll read any of the comments from the other boards and committees or any public comment that's come in, then let the board ask questions. And then when we're all done with that, we'll let the people in the audience ask questions. Being Zoom, I'll look for you. And if someone says, I want to speak, I'll try to find you on there. So that's, bear with us. So, and we do have all the green cards. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to you, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Dan Merrican with Legacy Engineering here on behalf of the applicant. With me tonight is Phil Mackey as well. So this is a 4-lot proposed subdivision at 32 Starlight Drive. Starlight Drive is in North Walpole off Old Town Road near Crosswoods Path. And we presented the project to you before. I'll give you a quick overview. 32 Starlight Drive is a big lot, 11 plus acres of land. It has one existing single family dwelling here with a long driveway that comes out to a little turnaround in the back. We are proposing to subdivide it into 4 lots. So that would be 3 new homes plus the existing home. So an increase of 3 houses. And we have 1 lot here, lot 1, as you come in the driveway to the right, and then you have the existing home on lot 2, and then lots 3 and lot 4 would have 2 additional homes. We are proposing this as a private way. We've provided you with a plan that shows the build out and then the private way option. The private way option has evolved. At our last discussion, the big question mark was, the fire department, whether they were okay with the configuration of the private way. The existing driveway is 18 feet wide with Cape Cod berms on either side. I met with the deputy chief, and he requested that the driveway be widened to 20 feet. We also had an island in the center of the cul-de-sac, which is kind of mimics the existing condition. You can see the existing condition here has an island with a turnaround. The deputy chief did not want that. So we have proposed to widen the existing driveway by 2 feet, and then we would overlay that with an additional course of pavement. And then for this, so that's the existing gray area. And then in the back part of it, from here down, we'd basically rebuild the existing driveway. There's already an existing driveway with a turnaround there. We would rebuild it per this plan to a 20-foot width with a full diameter cul-de-sac. So the deputy chief has written you a memo. He asked me to move a couple of fire hydrants around, which we did. He's indicated to you that he's okay with that. He's indicated to you that he's okay. One of the couple of the waivers that we have are that the very beginning of the driveway is slightly steeper than 3%. And there's a stretch in here that is about 8%. And he's indicated that he's okay with that, that complies with fire code and NFPA regulations, and that he doesn't have an issue with that. The other change, we made a few minor tweaks to the plan based on comments from the Conservation Commission, comments from the town engineer. Stormwater Basin 1 was relocated slightly. Stormwater Basin 2 was relocated slightly. The other issue that has cropped up is from the original approval of the Pine Brook subdivision in 1998. There was a 100-foot planning board buffer here. And the requirements for that buffer are that just that it be vegetated. And there's been an encroachment there in this area. There's an existing barn, and a chicken coop. And this area is gravel. So what we've done is we've revised the plans to call for, down here, there's an off-site wetland. We've worked with the Conservation Commission on this. We're gonna regrade this area in here, and we're gonna plant some shrubs. We're gonna relocate the barn. We're gonna relocate the chicken coop outside of your 100-foot buffer area. And then we're gonna take this whole gravel area and we're gonna loam it and seed it and restore it to a vegetated condition. And that's about it. So that's how we left off. My understanding, you know, from an engineering kind of technical standpoint, we're very close. Conservation has a few minor changes they'd like us to make, which I will do. I don't believe there's anything of significance outstanding with the town engineer. And, you know, we're getting to a point where we'd like to talk about trying to move this forward with the preparation of a draft decision if we can. You're on mute, Jack.
Like better like that, Dan. I know you had some legal issues and your attorney's present. Would you like to speak to those now before we start reading other comments, or how would you like? It's your choice.
Phil, you want to give an overview of your letter? Phil, you there?
I did.
I'm not catching Phil, so I can go over it if you want. The issues.
He's
Phil,
on there. Phil? Well, his name's there. So.
Yeah, he must have technical problems. So the town engineer wrote a letter, a separate memo, and he brought up a few items. The first one was this 100-foot buffer, which we basically addressed in this plan revision. There's been an encroachment in that buffer, and we're basically proposing to restore it to a vegetated condition, which is consistent with the planning board's requirement from 1998. The second issue was there's an existing well somewhere over here on the Westwood Gun Club that the town engineer noticed, and he raised that item. We have no idea what that well is. It's not at all associated with the applicant. The applicant has no knowledge of that well. The other item was, Carl mentioned that perhaps a modification of the prior subdivision approval was needed, but Phil has indicated that that's not the case. Starlight Drive is now a public road. So, you know, we're out of the original subdivision approval phase for that.
Hey. Dan, am I finally on audio again?
There you are, Phil. I'm sure you'll do a better job than I did.
I seriously doubt that, but I went to unmute myself and hung up instead, so not totally my best move ever. That said, Mr. Conroy, I managed to do that right after you said there were some legal issues. I submitted a written response. I had to give it to Patrick, the Community Development Officer, as Kate's been out. I provided Carl with a copy, and basically there were 3 issues, and I am responding to the town engineer's supplement first review dated May 18th, 2020.
Hey, Phil, before you go on, I just wanted to tell you, is we did not get it here. It wasn't put on any desk, so Kate, none of us have seen it. So.
Well, I that's fine, and I will send another copy.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to let you know it's somewhere town hall. Would you give it to?
I gave it to Pat DeShane.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we don't. It's not in our office, so. But go ahead.
I get it. So nonetheless, that just means I have a little bit more talking to do, which I'm sure you appreciate.
Yep.
So basically, it comes down. We had 3 issues we needed to address. The first was the 100-foot buffer, and basically, it is on the plan. It's on the original subdivision plan, and pretty much everything else is silent. But nonetheless, Dan's already showed on his plan. My opinion, I totally agree with the town engineer. All structures have to come out. It needs to be vegetated, and that's really what we're proposing. It's on the plan. I would suggest that we condition it that the work is done prior to the issuance of first building permit. So that gives Carl and the building inspector something to hang their hats on, as opposed to, you know, when does this need to get done? Certainly, if you have different ideas of the timing, we're open to that, but that was my proposition. So that really responded to comments 1, 2, and 3 from the town engineer. Like I said, I agree with them, and we're showing everything being put back. There was a question about a well that is on the gun club property. Mr. El Sarabi can correct me if I am misspeaking, but he has told me that he did not install a well. It is not part of our plan. It is nothing we're relying on. As far as we're concerned, that well is the gun club's property. It has nothing to do with this application. So there really wasn't a whole lot more to work on that. The last legal issue was whether or not we needed to file under 81W of the subdivision control law. So doing a little bit of case research, there's actually a case, Hamilton versus Planning Board of Beverly. And in that particular case, the fact pattern was different because there the applicant was arguing that he had an A&R plan and that somehow trumped conditions in subdivision approval. Clearly not exactly what we have here, but the court did say 2 very specific things. And it first went on to say that your board absolutely has the right to condition the number of houses in a subdivision. Presumably under the subdivision control law, and the examples they gave were numerous, but an easy one to talk about is the size of a sewer water line. If, for instance, someone was proposing a line that was only sufficient to serve 6 houses, you could simply put on the plan, you know, the limit for the subdivision is 6 houses. And at any point in the future, if someone wanted to divide their land and make a 7th house, they would have to come back to the board, and presumably you would tell them to increase the water line to be able to service all 7 houses. I would note that there's nothing in the Pine Brook plan or certificate of approval that indicates any limitation on lots. And so the court in the same case basically said, and I'm quoting here, if no such limitations on the definitive plan under GL 41 section O, the number, shape, and size of the lots shown on the plan may be changed as a matter of right, provided that every lot still has frontage that meets the minimum requirements of the city or town in which the land is located. So in our current scenario, the plan is proposed by Legacy Engineering, has sufficient frontage. There is no limitation on lots. So irrespective of public, private, or otherwise, it is my anyways, legal opinion that we can go forward as advertised, and we do not need to modify the subdivision. And I talked with the engineer this afternoon, and I certainly would have Carl speak for himself, but I believe we are in agreement on that.
Okay. Is that it for the legal end?
That is.
Okay. All right, I have some comments. The first one's from the Board of Health dated May 19th. And the Board of Health at their May 18th meeting voted unanimously that the board would like to reiterate its previous comments from the January 19th, 21st meeting. That the board stated they oppose new construction within the wetlands and have long-standing stance on protecting wetlands water resources, as well as protecting residents from human, vector, and borne illnesses. If this project is approved, the board urges the applicant as well as the future homeowners to adopt the standard best practice for mosquito mitigation, work with Norfolk mosquito control for spraying and the standing water treatments, institute regular cleaning gutters, provide proper grading, buffer zone in order to prevent low points. In addition, the applicant must address the trash and recycling pickup. In addition, the applicant will be required to submit individual septic plans for each lot. Okay, with that being said, I think once again, I don't see this. They said yes. So there is not a definitive yes in here. So I think, as we know, if you don't get a definitive yes, this can't be approved. So it's gonna be part of your homework is to go see the Board of Health. Everybody in agreement from the Al Sarabi team?
We went back to them, Mr. Chairman. We had them revise their comments to indicate their approval with those comments. So I'm just trying to pull up
Well, what
the
I read
information now.
the second line here, Dan, from them, the board stated they oppose to new construction within the wetlands and have a long-standing stance of protecting the wetlands. So that doesn't say they approve it here. They say
I thought I heard you say in their language it says we approve it,
No.
but with the
No,
comments.
there's no we approval in this anywhere.
Okay, I'll chase that down. I'm just looking at right now. You can go on. I'm just looking at trying to find those prior comments. If I find them, I'll note it.
But they have this on their May 19th. Once again, it's right there that they're opposed to new construction within the wetlands and have a long-standing is at least they'd have to come back to us and repeat that they understand it's not within the wetlands and they approve. You need something telling you what you already know from the Board of Health that says, yes, this is fine. So homework for the team. Next one is, I think it's my only one, from Kyle, 18th of May. And Kyle, you want to go through them?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Carl Balder, and members of the board. Carl Balder, town engineer. Let me first say that I agree with the summary presented by Mr. American. He did an excellent job of noting the changes. I also agree with the presentation by Attorney Mackey. I am in possession of a copy of his letter as he was in my office for other matters this afternoon. As you noted, we did deliver a review memo to the board. The board should have got that by email. That memo really was responding to the new submission and our last comments on January 27th. Most of the comments, to paraphrase our memorandum, most of the comments were addressed in the new submission. However, a few things remained, and it's actually been mitigated by Attorney Mackey's testimony about the supplemental letter I delivered. They have answered it. They have answered it in writing, and I agree with their answers. That being said, there are a few items that we've carried forth from the first review or from original reviews about stamping plans, and there's some minor drafting edits that need to be done to the cover sheet and in a few other places, some small edits to details and things like that. One of the more major, and actually I've learned tonight that we had a comment in there about mailboxes, and it had not been addressed, no location was shown, and I've actually since received some feedback from the postmaster, and he would prefer mailboxes for this road if it remains private. At the end of the road at Starlight Drive, and he's given some specifications for that, which I can share with Mr. American. So there's a few things that are in my memorandum that are already taken care of. One of the more significant items, which is item 14, and I had asked for a homeowners association in my last review, and there was a reply that said we were going to hold off, or the applicant was going to hold off because he wasn't sure what the status of the roadway was going to be. And we've been moving along through this review, assuming that this road will be private. It doesn't meet the board standards. There are some waivers requested here. So I would reiterate that it should be private, and that the homeowners association should be delivered for review while the hearing is open. Attorney Mackey, I've actually spoke to him about this. He may want to add a little bit more to that. But that's the essence of our letter. So there aren't many things left. It's barely 3 pages. Most of it's fairly easy to address, and they've made the changes that were requested. And we did have in between, we had a meeting with Mr. American and myself and the conservation agent. So the changes are all well executed, and this thing's fairly near ready to go.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
On the issue of the homeowners association, I think, as you know, if it's going to be a private way, we need to create a homeowners association. If it were not to be a private way, there would be no association. So we're certainly prepared to go that way to create the document. We just wanted to get some comfort from the board that, you know, that the proposal to keep it as a private way is something that the board's willing to entertain. And if we get that feedback, then we'll go ahead and we'll prepare a draft association document and submit it to the board for consideration.
Okay, you all set, Kyle? I assume?
I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Kyle. All right, now we've read everything. I'll start with comments from the board. Since you're right on top of my screen, John?
A note on page 6 and page 5 is reference to an easement over lot 3 for lot 2, I believe.
Yes.
Now, I assume that's going to have to be built into the deeds, correct?
Yeah, there'll be an easement over lot 3 for the benefit of lot 2. That's where the barn and the chicken coop are going to be relocated, and they're going to reside in an easement on lot 3. So in the granting, you know, that's a kind of a private issue between the two lot owners, but that the deed out for lot 3 will grant an easement to the owner of lot 2.
Okay. Is that set up for perpetuity, or is that for the period of time where the current owner maintains ownership of lot 2? Is there a
It'll be in
expiration
perpetuity.
date for this?
No.
And they'll be accessing the items from the cul-de-sac, I assume.
Correct.
Is there a sidewalk on that I'm missing, or?
We do not have a sidewalk proposed, no. That's a private way serving only 4 homes. We don't feel that a sidewalk is needed.
And you have some trees shown along the length of the way, okay?
Yeah, we have street trees shown in the areas that are not already wooded.
Tree. I believe that's it for the moment. Thank you.
All right, Phil?
I don't have a lot of things. I actually went back and watched some of the earlier meetings and saw that we've asked a lot of the same questions. The stormwater report, it looks like was revised on May 5th. Was that in to update the changes that were made with the meeting?
Yeah, we've submitted a couple of revisions on the stormwater report. The May 5th revision was basically just to change the location of Stormwater Basin 1, which we shifted slightly uphill at the request of the conservation agent.
And then
that was a minor change.
Do we have a copy of that? I was just curious whether the
Oh, yeah.
a copy of the revised.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah. Then I noted on some of the sheets that outbuilding is called the garage and some is called the barn. So you may want to just make that consistent. I mean, it's not a word change, but just for sake of consistency. And glad to hear that the fire department had no problems with the road. That was a concern, making sure that from a safety perspective that the fire department was good. And the width is going to be the 22 feet now. So you're saying that right now your decision on committing to make it a private road is you want to hear the board first give that.
And I mean, obviously you're not going to take a vote until the end, but I'd like to get a sense that the board is okay with this proposal to keep this as a private way, and then we'll move forward with the preparation of the O&M document.
And I don't think I really had anything else. I know we talked about in other meetings, the blasting and and things like that, but and what was said then was there's not going to be any blasting for the road, and that any other blasting would depend upon when the houses were built.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's really all I have.
Okay, Kate?
So most of my questions were answered. They were the legal issues. The only thing I want to double back on, and Dan, I don't think you can address it tonight based on what's been said about the homeowners association, but when you do, I know that there were a lot of concerns from a neighbor. I had noted that in my notes from the prior meeting about the homeowners association and whether it was all four parties or just one owner and the maintenance of it. So I think that's something to be addressed in the future, but I know that there was a neighbor who had voiced concerns.
It would be all four lots would be a part of the homeowners association.
Yep.
If I may?
Yep.
Yeah, so basically what we've done in the past, Katie, are two different documents. One, there's gonna be a covenant with the town. Jack's gonna roll his eyes because he's not on the board anymore, but basically saying in perpetuity, unless they come back for a full filing with your board, this road will remain private. Trash goes to the end, mailboxes go to the end, et cetera, so on and so forth. It's relatively standard, and we've done it pretty much for every private road that I've been involved in. And the second, now I guess we're calling it a homeowners association, but normally we call it a mutual maintenance agreement. And basically that's another document that goes, they both get on record, so they run with the land, they're in everyone's chain of title. They show that the lawyer's doing his job right, be on the deed, but it will bind all four lot owners to maintain the road. And you know, I can't tell you the specifics yet because we haven't looked at it, but generally speaking, everyone divides by four and shares the cost.
Okay.
And I certainly can have those to Carl and the board well in advance so that everyone can take a look at it. Because generally speaking, you reference those in the certificate of approval as well.
Sounds reasonable. That's all I had, Jack.
Okay, Sarah?
Okay, yeah, just to echo what the chairman said, that we need, you know, the approval and the letters from Board of Health and Fire Department as well. Just a question, do you have a letter or anything, an update from Concom? Have you been?
Well, we're still in front of them.
Okay, okay.
But we had a meeting with them last week or the week before. There's a few minor tweaks involved in the plans. So I anticipate issuing a revised plan next week addressing Carl's remaining few comments and a couple of items on the Conservation Commission, and that should be the final product.
Okay, okay. And you had said that the deputy fire chief is fine with what you're proposing. Has he sent us a letter? I don't believe we've received a memo indicating that.
I don't think he hasn't reviewed these plans. He sent you a letter indicating that he was okay with the grade of the existing driveway, so you have that in your file. I'll circulate this plan to him if he doesn't have it already, so that he can get you an updated memo.
Okay, yeah, I don't believe I have that one that he's okay with the grade, but I will check my records again. But we'd be looking for that. As far as the road being private, I personally don't have an issue with it, as long as the, you know, fire is okay. And Carl, the town engineer, is okay. I don't have a problem with that. Are you planning to put the name of the road on the plans with the submittal?
Yeah, we submitted a letter way back with the original submission for three road names. I'll have to dig that up. I don't remember what they were off the top of my head, but I'll try to find that while you're talking.
Okay, yeah, I think I would like to see that on the final plan. And then staying on the road, so you mentioned that the deputy chief is fine with a 20-foot width. So is that specific 20-foot width, is that shown on the plans?
Yes, it is.
That number 20 foot or?
Yeah, it's on our detail, and there's also a specific notation to widen the existing driveway by 2 feet. And
Yeah, I
reestablish
see
the
that
first.
note. Could you just point out to me the detail where it's shown?
Let's see. So this is the proposed cross-section of the road. It's 20 feet from face of curb to face of curb.
Okay. 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 20 feet in detail. Okay. And then, there was reference made to sheet C0. I don't have a sheet C0.
C0 is the cover sheet.
Yeah.
You don't have the cover sheet?
Well, I have, my cover sheet says, it looks like that, but it says C1.
Are you looking at the May 5th revision?
Sarah, I can speak to that.
Yeah,
I have on the end of my sheets, another C0. So it looks like when they Xeroxed the plans, it didn't separate at the right place.
oh, so you have my sheet C0?
I have your C0. I went to the front one in the end. I knew somebody was
apologize for
missing one.
I think I messed that up. Sorry about that.
Okay, all right. It just, it was referenced, the list of waivers and things, and I didn't have that, so, okay. I will get that and review. Thank you. And then, so you have this here. Do you have a zoning chart somewhere on these plans?
Zoning table on C4, top right.
Or- Okay. Okay. Good, okay. And then, just a comment, so that existing landscape island, that's coming out, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's still referenced on sheet C7 and C8 in the detail? Like kind of right,
Oh, you on the profile?
yeah,
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
okay. Okay, and you had said that you put in street trees, and you said
Yeah, there
also
are.
you have lighting?
Yeah, we have, let's see. We don't have, well, we do. We have, so there's an existing light at the intersection. See this? No, so there's an existing utility pole here with a street light on it. Which
Okay,
basically is directly opposite of us. And then we have a proposed light pole in the middle of the road, and then a proposed light pole at the end of the road.
okay, okay. And, okay, I see it there. Okay, and then what about the snow storage? Is that identified on the plan?
It's not identified on the plan. It's usually in windrows along the side of the road, which is how streets are plowed. But I can add a note to the plan if you'd like.
I mean, it's just the road is narrow, so I just want to make sure that it stays safe and passable for fire and for the residents.
Sure, I'll add some notes to the plan.
Okay. Okay, I think that's it. Let me just. Okay, yeah, that's what I had. Thank you.
Do you want to talk about street names?
Sure, but it's not up to me, but.
Who's it up to?
911.
Okay, so we submitted a letter dated January 23rd, 2020 with 3 proposed street names. So should I circulate that to someone at the police department?
I think police are the ones that check it. Is that right, Jack?
Fire usually comments too.
Yeah, okay. Make sure that it's not similar to other names and things.
None of these are similar to other names. Okay, I will do that.
Okay, thank you. Is Jack frozen or?
He
That
might
does
be.
look frozen.
He hasn't moved in a while.
Maybe he just wasn't happy with my comments. I don't know what happened. We lost him.
Oh, we lost him. Here, he'll be back in a minute.
So as the vice chair, I'll just talk in generalities.
I'm back.
Oh, good. Okay. Was just gonna ask him if he knows when he wants to come back.
You know,
But anyway, you have to speak, John. Jack.
after computers out this on Stone Street, but that's okay. First, mailbox, not our jurisdiction. Don't really care. Doesn't affect us. I will make one note. Is if you go to Olmsted, they have a whole bank of them, and Olmsted's a public road. So, whatever the postmaster feels that day. So we don't really care on that, Dan. If you want to show it, you can. If you don't, you don't. But it's not a bondable item, and it's not part of us. So, and what we're going to need is Phil's letter, wherever it is. Definitely going to need a letter from the fire department. But while I'm on that, dug out an old one, and there was one note here that Paul Barry had made before. And it was note 6 of his January 14th letter that says hydrant locations are not acceptable. So you're gonna have to discuss with him alternate locations.
We already did, and the plans reflect that discussion. So I'll get a memo from Paul that's been updated.
Yeah, well, you should make everything, you should close out, as you know, close it out. Board of Health, you know, you need to get that. You indicated something about you still in front of Concom. Did you say that you might be modifying the plan?
They said that they have a few changes that they would like me to make, along with the few changes that Carl has noted in his most recent memo.
Okay, so when you get done with Concom, then you'll come back to us, correct?
Well, I mean, I don't know that we're necessarily going to close out Concom until we know that we're all squared away with you. So,
Okay, then here's what happens, Dan. Very simple. We control the plan, not Concom. So if Concom changes their plan and it's not on ours, you don't have a plan. We're the last guy in line.
Understood.
So that's the way it goes. If you want to close it out of one forever, people, you close it out now, that's fine. And if Concom changes something, you'd have to start again, and I'm sure you don't want to do that. You mentioned something else about sidewalks. Now, you said you didn't put them on the waived plan or the
waived plan.
On the waived plan, okay. So I understand, in talking to Kyle, you do show everything on the non-waived plan, correct?
This is the non-waiver plan. It shows everything.
All right, so that's why I'm trying to get set. So if we said, nah, we're going to go to the conventional, you're not asking for any waivers on that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure, just in case we went back, you don't want to get caught with like, whoops, okay. So with all that being said, I know you got a little bit more to go, but I will open it up to, and I understand what you're talking about with whether it's private or conventional, but that being said, we'll wait for the comments from the public, and I ask for any comments from anybody. Might be out there.
Chris Timpson. Jack?
Yes,
Chris Timpson. If I can be recognized.
I can't see your face, so how can I recognize you? You live in Walpole? No, we don't care, right? All right, go ahead, Chris.
So I'm here representing the abutter, the Walpole the Westwood Gun Club. And they have a few things that they'd like the board to consider as you debate this. I know it's not closing tonight, so we'd just like to throw them out there as food for thought as you look at this. I don't know if Dan can put up the other plan that we were looking at all night long. Thank you. So if you look in that area of the planning board's 100-foot buffer, you can see that there's a gravelled area cut into the woods. My client, well, let me put it to you this way. The applicant is suggesting that they're restoring that area by moving out the chicken coop and the shed. But if you were to look at that area, there were many, many, many trees that were taken down. And the planning board's 1996 decision states that the development provides a 100-foot buffer zone, including existing or planted vegetation. So the existing vegetation that was in there, and I could show you pictures if the board would like to see them, but basically all of that was clear cut. And my client would like to see that restored, not with a lawn, which is what is being suggested here, which is going to essentially, if you will, invite people into that buffer to do whatever might come, but to restore it to what the planning board originally had proposed and what was originally there, which would be to plant probably 20 trees or so, make sure that they're along the 100-foot buffer, and then they would gradually also be back in the area where the gravel and the clear cutting occurred. We would like to see that area stabilized with wood chips rather than a grass lawn. So that's one of the things. We feel that a restoration is not complete and doesn't comply with the original intent or what the board ordered unless you're going to repopulate that area and make it woods just like it was before it was clear cut by the applicant. Another thing that the club would like the board to consider is that they would like to see signage along that 100-foot buffer to make sure that that we don't run into the same problem later on. If you were going to have this development, now you've got new homeowners, they might not be aware of what's going on back there. And I think it would be wise to not run into this situation again. I mean, there is an active shooting range back in that area, and it would make sense to maintain that buffer. And signage, I think, would be a good idea. We were thinking of signage that would say something to the effect of a 100-foot buffer, no cutting of existing or planted vegetation, and no structures. We could work on that language, but my client would also like to see the deeds that are going out to the new homeowners have language citing to the vegetative buffer and the no cutting of existing or planted vegetation and no structures. Ultimately, the club is not in favor of this subdivision. There is a willingness to try and work with the applicant to see if we could come to some type of an understanding. And in fact, I have spoken to Phil Mackey, and we're going to try to see what we could do. But I haven't seen his memo that he's provided to the board. The club would like to have an opportunity to look at that and provide whatever rebuttal that we might. Because when I look at the December 13th, 1996 decision that's on record, the phasing decision, it says right on it, number of lots in subdivision, 20. So there does seem to be a limitation on the number of lots per the 96 order. So that's what we would like you to consider. I think that it would be a little bit of a travesty if someone were allowed to clear cut those woods, and instead of replanting it and vegetating it with trees and whatnot, which is what the planning board had originally envisioned and ordered, that they would just be allowed to plant some grass there and make it into something that I can only imagine would be a different setup than ever was imagined when this buffer zone was set up. So those are the comments that we have for tonight, reserving, of course, any further comments to as this comes down the pike.
Okay, with that being said, I'll ask the Al Sarabi team to comment.
Yes, Mr.
Go ahead, Phil.
Okay, so Chris and I are talking. I don't know if we're actually going to get anywhere, especially as the now stated design or stance of the gun club. They don't support the subdivision, but we may still. But nonetheless, to answer the specifics, the subdivision phasing plan that he has referenced is on record. It is not the certificate of approval, and it is not mentioned anywhere on the definitive plan. That is not a condition of approval. It may have been a while. I don't even know if some of the newer members of the board have had the dubious pleasure of dealing with larger subdivisions. But certainly the chair can speak to this, and I believe I am correct when I say, pretty much anything over 4, you do a phasing plan, and we'd still do one per year, but I think by right, we're gonna really need no points. And the whole idea is that given different factors that the board may or may not consider, you limit the number of lots that can be built per year. That has nothing to do with the certificate of approval. It has nothing to do with the definitive plan. And it is actually a completely separate vote of the board. So I may have misspoken. We may still have to submit one for 4, but it's not a case of some of your larger subdivisions, Wisteria Ways, Toll Brothers, et cetera, where, quite rightly, the town didn't want 100 houses built all at once, and so they phased it out. You had to come up with a plan. That's what that plan is. That is not the certificate of approval. The only description of what can or can't be done in the buffer zone is actually on record, and it says 2 things. You can't have structures, and you can't cut trees with greater than 3-inch diameter 4 feet above the ground. So by the actual restriction, the words that are on record, any of the owners can take out all the brush, all the scrub. It doesn't matter if it's wood chips for lawn, but the intent being is the mature trees stay. And certainly if the board determines that we should put a couple of trees back, I don't think there's any issue with that. I'll be happy to provide Chris a copy with the letter, apparently along with the board again. And it will be interesting to see, because the really only thing you would object to is moving the buildings out of the buffer. So if he wants us to leave them there, I guess we could, but that isn't what either he or I described. As far as signage goes, it's nowhere in the initial decision. This is a brand new decision. The board could determine it's appropriate. And I'll leave it at that. I haven't seen the board ask for it before, but you guys are elected to enforce the subdivision rules and regs. There's nothing about signage in there, but again, if that's what makes sense, we're not opposed to it. I guess really the only thing that we would be seeking is that the restrictions that are on record are what stays. I would note that the buffer and the restrictions, because they're not just for this 100-foot buffer, the whole subdivision has a variety of different ones. Most had to do with design review, and they were all put in by Gary Worden years ago. Those should be brought forward in the deed. Certainly can be part of your conditions of approval. I'll help you draft it. But good conveyancing puts them there anyways. And so we don't have any issue with that. The only thing we do have a sincere issue with is we're not amenable to somehow turning a 100-foot buffer into a 100-foot no disturb, no touch. That wasn't the intent. It is not how the property is restricted, and we would actually have issue with that. But as far as the common sense, move the buildings, revegetate, if you feel signage is appropriate, fine. If you want to make a condition that the proper documents are referenced in the deed, again, no problems. And we take it from there. Thank you.
Okay, my statement to all that is that I assume both of you will submit something, so if this ever goes to appeal, we have something to deal with, correct, guys?
Absolutely.
Okay, now, with all this being said, I assume this is not necessarily something that we as the planning board should get into the little squabble. I would think by next time you both have worked out, both parties, the gun club and Al Sarabi Estates, of what's going to be done. Let's face it, there was a law broken, so to speak, when this was all mowed down. So we do have that issue anyway, so that's not going to go away. So my suggestion is, I think you guys know anyway, you have to work this out, both of you, what meets the best, okay? You certainly don't want us necessarily being the final decider, because neither one may be happy if we have to decide on that. So I think guys know where you're going. Is there anyone else from the public? No? Kind of quiet. All right. Nobody else? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. All right, so I think as far as right now, I think you question the board since no one else has seemed to jump in, whether what we favor or not favor. I guess that's a better question. So, not asking for a vote, but I'll poll each board member so you know which way to go, Dan. All right, I'll start Sarah. We have conventional and we have the private. You don't have to vote for the conventional because that would have to be, but are you would you be amenable to the private?
Yeah, I stated in my comments, as long as fire is okay and other, town boards don't have an issue with it, I think it's fine.
Okay. Phil?
I would agree, as long as fire and our town engineer are fine with it, then I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. Katie?
I agree.
Okay. John?
Question for Carl. Do we have roadways of the same steepness in other parts of town?
I assume so. I can't give you a straight answer because I can't think of one now. I would actually bounce that back to Jack because with only a couple of years back, I don't have a familiarity with all the private ways in town.
Gee, Carl, thank you. You just told me that you were only a couple years younger and been here forever. Well, how about Pemberton? That's kind of...
There are public roads all over the place with steeper profiles than we have here.
Okay, could I'd ask you, Dan, so that the board can understand next time, just tell us a few. The one that comes off my mind right away is Toll Brothers coming up off of Washington Street. You take the turn to climb the hill by the big retention basin. That's one that kind of comes to mind for me. But if you could just find a couple, Dan, so that we all have a frame of reference.
Sure.
I think to keep this in, was the question more focused on are there 20-foot other similar private ways? This exceeds slope a little bit, but not an awful lot. Am I correct in
My
that?
thought is basically, is there a safety concern involved one way or the other, I suppose, with a narrow road, any car coming down in the icy winter, could it slide into the road without room to correct itself?
That's a question. If you look at my original review, John, I left that decision to the board, and I did not recommend you waive your own standards, and I don't know that I ever will. Otherwise, why do you have them?
So we don't have to pay for the maintenance.
There you go.
It's all
These
about
are-
Benjamins.
These are very minor deviations.
It's a minor
of slope
variance, I agree,
required.
it's not
Yeah,
a-
very minor.
large variance, so I'm not opposed to it being a private road.
Okay. So we'll put together, proposed legal documents for the board's consideration, Jack.
Okay. You want my, thing, Dan? You want me to tell you?
Sure, of course.
Or you're just gonna run with the 4?
No, I'm not gonna run with the 4.
All right, yeah, it's fine. It's what, the whole reason private's been developed is why are we, destroying extra road width just for the sake of what we have? 26 feet may work on Crossroads Path, but does it work for 4-lot dead-end subdivision? Probably not. And it also comes down to the money issue anyway. And it's better for all. That being said, now it seems like it'll be the legal go around for a bit, and Dan, you got to go around collecting a bunch of stuff and go through conservation and get us the other stuff. So with all that being said, and you expire for us on the end of this month, on the 28th.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you, don't even ask for June, because that's not gonna happen no matter what. And we have the other one on the 15th, which I'll announce after this, so July 15th. Yeah, when's your next hearing with Concom?
2 weeks, I think.
Okay. All right, so you'll probably know which way you're going there. Now, so you got to do this. I know we have our 14-day rule, but here's the issue. That's only for us to act. Now, if you go down to see Paul Barry, Deputy Chief Paul Barry, and say, Paul, I gave you 14 days, you know what's going to happen. Yeah, give him a lot of time, especially this will be during the summer. So my suggestion is get him in as soon as you can if you do have, when you get the change plans after conservation. Because summer is, from the middle of June to this time, you'd be lucky to catch people. And that's why we probably didn't have the comments back from Paul tonight, because when you sent them in, they just went out the next day. So they've like a week and a half for business time to review. So that's all I'm saying. Quicker you get them, better chance you have getting a letter. And I also say that I've told every guy in front of us before is you ought to check and see what we got. And if we ain't got it, then you're going to do a little hoofing to whether it be conservation office, police, fire, whatever, sewer and water, to make sure that they'll get it for you so that, you got everything together that next time. Okay? So with that being said, we'll need an extension through the end of July.
Sure. Request and grant an extension of the time in which the board can act through and including July 31st, 2021.
Okay, through 7/31/21. Okay, I'll make that in a form of motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from John. Okay, we'll do all those in favor. John?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Jack? Aye. So we got it. And we'll put you on for July 15th. Before, what time? 7:10? How's that, Dan?
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, so this hearing will be continued until July 15th at 7:10 p.m. And there'll be no more notices given. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could we start working on a draft decision?
Can we start?
Working on a draft.
Well, we got a lot of holes there. So if we got to change it, do you want to know our fees for changing? Dan? A lot of whiteout, a lot of eraser marks. I mean, it's going to be difficult. You got nothing yet.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it's not going to get close. I mean, it's not hard to do a decision, but right now asking for us to start without knowing what we're going to put in the buffer, not knowing a lot of the other stuff, it's you know what the regular one is. This is a matter of just putting in the missing items.
Okay. Very good. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. With that being done, we're done with that hearing, and now here's my Marini hearings. Okay. We have the 3 hearings for tonight. They're all getting continued. I'll try to read them in order. First off, we had a public hearing Thursday, May 20th at 7:16 p.m. on a special permit application from Krista Alpin from Bobrowski and Haverty, case number 2103 with respect to property 1427, 1429 Main Street, shown on Assessors Map 40, parcel 119, Residence B, seeking a special permit on the town zoning bylaws for modification of site plan approval decision case 1409. Okay, with that, we are opening that. That's sitting here for the moment, and I'll read the next one. We will open at 7:17 on Thursday, May 20th, a site plan application from Bobrowski and Haverty for case 2102, respect to property located 1427, 1420 Main Street, Assessors Map 40, parcel 149. They want looking at seeking site plan review under section 13 of the zoning bylaws. So that one is open. And the next one that is opened is at 7:30 on May 20th, application for 1429 Main Street, having a definitive plan with waivers for subdivision located off the back portion of 1429 Main Street, off Marion Street, Walpole. The owner applicant said property assesses map 40, lot 149, residence district B is 1429 Main Street, and looking for a definitive plan for Marion Street extension, a single family residential subdivision dated December 14, 2020. Okay, with that being said, what we have here, this is all surrounded 1429 Main Street. If you're all familiar with the building, out back, there's a vacant piece of land that the applicant's trying to turn into a subdivision. But right now, 1420 Main Street is all one lot there. So what we have is he's got to amend his original site plan for the building. He's got to have a new site plan because we're actually doing a new one, and he's trying to turn it into a subdivision. So that's why the reason for the 3. With that being explained, I'm going to read, and we're not taking testimony. And the reason being is we have from the applicant's attorney, Bobrowski and Haverty, and they please accept this correspondence agreement to continue the board's hearing, consider the applicant's submittals for modification site plan, modification of special permit, and definitive subdivision plan to June 17th, 2021, or to a mutually agreeable date later. I'll have to tell you the applicant went to a wedding, but that doesn't matter. And they've given us an extension for all 3 up to July 30th, 2021. So the first order of business, I'll make a motion to accept an extension up through July 30th, 2021 for site plan, for the special permit modification, and the subdivision approval, so that they all 3 of them get it. So I have that as a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Phil. Okay, all those in favor? Phil?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And Jack? Aye, and I said Sarah, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, all right, with that being said, we now have to set the time for the new hearing, and that will be Kate. Okay, this will be continued on the site plan at 7:15, the special permit at 7:16. Well, I'm sorry, just special permit 7:15, site plan at 7:16, and the subdivision at 7:30. Okay, and so there'll be no testimony. We'll open it just to continue. There'll be no more notices, so this will be, like I said, be heard on not here on July 15th. I thought it was June 17th, no? To these guys? Okay, I'm sorry, July 15th. No, wait a minute. No.
Here's the date you mentioned earlier today.
Yeah, 17. What do we got? Okay, we weren't putting them on the 17th then. No. Okay, we can, no, that's right, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did say July 15th, correct?
You did.
Yes, I did. Okay, that's when we wanted them. Okay. Okay, sorry for the confusion. Yeah, all three public hearings will be continued to July 15th, starting at 7:15, 7:16, and 7:30. And for people out there who are gonna watch it, we typically, when you have a special permit with a site plan on the same thing, it kind of gets rolled together. That's the way it goes. The subdivision's a whole another ball of wax. That's under subdivision control, not on our local zoning book. So that will be taken separately. So, and I just wanted for everybody to understand that. So anybody's out there going to be back, we'll see you on July 15th at 7:15. Okay. All right. And we have one more. We have one more thing. Oh, yep. We have the master plan memo. Okay, and got a memo and a subsequent, I think we all got the same thing from Ben Barrett regarding the master plan about indicating that it's our board, we're charged with it. Pretty simply because it says it in Mass General laws. And so with that being said, so it's in our lap to do, and we should be doing it. One thing I will tell anybody, if they haven't looked, is you can go on the website under the master plan and implementation committee. There's a whole litany of items that's been done before. There's a whole master plans there, and you can see how the committee makeup was and so on, and what they were looking for and what they tried to update in 2014. So there is a whole bunch of information for that. So my suggestion is, since it's in ours and we really haven't had a chance to do it, is I'd ask everybody to look at it. And I would think, at least my own opinion right now, is when we meet in June, that the first thing we should all decide on is the makeup of the committee. And we can talk about anything else that's been written in there too, on how to proceed. With that being said, I'll turn it over. And I see John on my screen. So you got any questions or comments on that, John?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Next one I see is Kate.
So I think it's definitely something we have to discuss in June and get moving on. I was part of the RFP, as you guys know, because you put me there as the representative. And we hired the consultant and they're ready. I believe they've already started doing some background. So I think it's really important that we do all look at the past and look to the future. And next June meeting, we assign who's going to be on it and start working, get it going.
Okay, thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, so can we have just a small discussion on some big picture items? Just do we want to go with, what the select board has recommended, keep it kind of small and intimate, or are we as a are we as a board interested in getting more people, more boards, getting the full planning board on it?
Well, I would think that you should
Hear from
read
the
the
board
best.
on that.
I would think you should read what's been done before, as was handled by the planning board. It's always been handled by the planning board. And I think probably the only person that was on any of those committees there who's presently on the board of selectmen was Mark Gallivan. So that's where it came from. But like I said, you need to read all that to see what you got. So you may see, Sarah, that what they've recommended is already there. So that's what, so that's why I'm saying you got to read that first and see what the committee makeup was.
Okay. I think that's fine. I just know that, these things take time and it's already been time gone by. So do we think as a board then on June, we're gonna have a discussion and we're gonna outline who we want on the board. We're gonna vote on which planning board members are there and we're gonna move forward, or how quickly are we going to undergo the process?
My my feeling is everybody reads it, and the first thing you have to do is see the makeup of what was before, what the selectmen have offered, and have your own opinion. We'll, all five of us, put it down, and, we like this, we don't. You may have something added, I may have something added, and at the end of that discussion, we'll have a final committee to move forward, and then ask how they did like last time. I think if you read it, the selectmen had said they would appoint somebody, from the, we would appoint somebody, and then you have members at large. So at that point, once we decide, here's what we want to do, then we send it out to everybody asking for them for their cooperation. What you saw last time is a pretty big committee where you had people from the Historic Commission, you had people from Conservation, even the Chamber of Commerce. I think Katie was that rep. So that's my recommendation or feeling is by next meeting, we should have all agree on the list and start from there.
Jack, can I ask a question? So I was a member of the community. I did participate, but I was a member of the community. I wasn't the chamber. I don't think I was the chamber rep. Maybe I was, but I'm old and can't remember, but I did participate. My question to you, or maybe Kate Delaney, is have we heard from the consultant yet?
No, Kate just says no, but the consultant really wasn't answering to us. He was.
I was just curious, but so Sarah, just my input from having participated, it was a broad group. And I think my personal opinion is, and again, it should be revisited in June and discussed in depth. I'm not going to waste everyone's time. But this is a 20-year plan, and it's important. We do it, and we do it right. And I think we want all ages, I think we want all different people. We want a variety. We want to hear opinions, whether we incorporate it all or not is to be said, but we want to hear it all. And we want to make sure that the groups we choose, I think representatives from aren't like the same members in all the groups. You know what I mean? So we want to get people with different points of view. We want to hear, because that's what makes it work, is, looking to the past, looking to the future, getting a whole bunch of input, and then weeding it out. So that's my opinion, but again, I won't waste everyone's time. But I remember participating. I remember being at the high school. I remember that there were a lot of people there, and it was good discussion. We broke down into little groups. And it was, everyone gave their 2 cents, and then the actual committee ran with it. So that's how I remember it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I definitely see value in that. I just want to make sure. So if it's planning board driving the bus, then who does that mean exactly? Is that all of us, or is, I guess we have to work that out next week, our next meeting. But I really want to decide on that. So if that's it, if we are taking the lead, which, we should according to mass law, and that's fine. I just want to make sure that we're ready to lead, and we've got all that worked out, and we're ready to talk with the consultants and get the, boards together and everything.
The way it worked last time, or the actual last 2 times, is planning board appointed a member. At one point, I think we had 2 on there, Eddie Fosberg and Nancy McKenzie, and they worked with the whole group, but they also went out and they did some outreach. One day, I remember at the high school, beyond just on the committee would work through all this, and when the committee got done with the consultants, they would bring it to the planning board at the final. We're not doing membership as 5. We can't because of the open meeting laws and so on. So what happens is one of the members, when everybody gets done, they say, this is what we think. They bring it to us, and that's when we vote. But it's not to say that they don't bring pieces as we go along, too. So it finally comes back to the 5 members, but in the meantime, it's being worked on the whole way. It's not like we're going to go to all these meetings. It's like any other subcommittee. That's basically what it will be, is a subcommittee and brought back to us.
Okay, and whoever we appoint kind of direct that process as they go through. They're empowered to make those decisions.
Yeah, typically on a committee, you'd elect the chairman. Hopefully the person from the planning board gets to be elected. But yes, someone would be spearheaded. Typically, it's always been the planning board. One of the reasons is because most of the people get involved, they don't really understand this. Only we do from doing it all the time. So you wouldn't want somebody from the Chamber of Commerce trying to figure out, what are we doing in zone? No, it's typically, and what happened last time, they were kind of like the guides. You know, if someone says something, oh, you can do this or that. They weren't running the show, so to speak. They're there to help on certain, you know, aspects of the technical. So that's why typically the one person on the planning board will be at the head. You not run the show, but guided is more like it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Let's see who else? Katie, John spoke. Phil?
You muted.
I agree totally. We want to have a wide representation, representing all the different constituents in our town, age groups, different what people do, so on. And also I think we want to also get things going fast, to go as fast as we can, you know, as practical, just because we do want to, the process can take a long time. Now, I was looking at some material that the Citizen Planner Training Collaborative has, and I can send out a link to that if people are interested in looking. And one question I have, Jack, are you thinking, you know, one of the models that's often used is having what would be called steering committee. So are we when we talk about having a committee, are we talking about calling it the steering committee or a comparable body?
I get, if that's the term, Phil, that would probably be it. That you know, all these people, different aspects, and they talk it out among themselves, but they also have, you know, now and again go out to the outside and bring back. And the steering committee formulates everything with the consultant, and when it's all done, they think everybody's in agreement on that steering committee. That's when it would be presented to the planning board for their vote. But a lot of times you're better off doing pieces. If you want to get a feel of what it is there's like a 200-page report by John Connery Associates. Kate's rolling her eyes, and we remember that. That was a long report. But it gives you a basis of what they're looking at. And you know, it's funny, as you read some of the stuff, you know, oh yeah, we need a new police station. Well, that was back then. Well, bang, cross that off the list. It's funny when you go down what was people were saying we need. Gee, we did get it. It's not like it was just never addressed. So if you read that, you'll get a feel of where this goes. It's such a broad brush. And that's why you want, and it'll help you formulate who you think, what type of person should be on the committee. You know, like I said, you think historic, well, then you get into historic buildings and what you do, like say with the old town hall. See all that in front of you, because it is a very, very big conglomerations of everybody's work. And once you read that, you'll start to see. What's good about it is, if you didn't know where to start, this certainly helps. And the other thing, what's even nice is if you start with that, and even I would throw that to the committee, saying, the steering committee, read that and see what you like and what you don't like. So you got something to go. So that will help it go a lot quicker, rather than, you know, we're going to start with a bunch of sticks and try to build something. No, you're already going to have something in front of you, and you might be just tweaking somehow or changing or adding. So it'll make life easier for everybody on the committee. It won't be overwhelming. Plus, I believe it'll make it go faster.
Yeah, and in all these, the different models I was looking at, you know, they all go out and do focus studies and go out to the community and do surveys. There's a whole lot of community outreach and breaking up into subcommittees to do that. So there's a lot of that.
Oh yeah, so, you'll see that in there. And next time we will have a test on it.
But one question is, it would seem logical we could build off the list that the select board already put together. That's a good, it looks to me like a good starting point. We may add or subtract, we may add a lot, but certainly they've covered a lot of the boards or the different groups that I would think of. Maybe having more community people on the group, you know, in the committee, but that might be also as we look through the.
That list was developed by people who've never done it before. So, and probably without looking at the master plan list. So that's what I'm saying. You got to go back to what's been done in the past to see the array of different types of people. Yes, you should look at it. I'm not saying not. Like I said, you might probably find 90% of what they recommended will be on it, but then you might find others like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Or you might find something that wasn't done 20 years ago, or like the one update in 2014 that now, yeah, we should probably put on, because things do change as we go. So.
from the past participation and from participating in the RFP, and I'm not trying to restate the obvious, but just so it's clear, in addition to the people that are on the committee, they pull from the community. So it's a situation of they'll pull from different groups. So even if a group isn't included in the committee, and it's a group that, any group is relevant, they will ask them for input. So they reach out to all different groups. And the woman from Barrett, I don't know if it's Barrett Associates, Barrett and Company, she had mentioned their past experience with doing that, and she gave examples. Jack, I don't know if it's appropriate if maybe it's too early, but maybe she give a 5-minute presentation to us at the June meeting or something, just to clarify a few things. I don't think she needs to go on, and I don't know if if the board thinks it's relevant, but if either that or if there are specific questions, maybe Kate could send them to her and she could answer them. That might be a better way to do it, to clarify things, if you guys have questions like that.
All right, I'm not sure. It's funny. I'm not sure how this is being run because it started out as community development director and now it's back with us and we have nobody. So I'm not sure if our community development director is staying in with us or not. But one of the things you did say, Kate, maybe that we ask through, I assume Patrick Duchesne will be the point man, is ask the consultant, have her send us a typical list what other communities do for people. Because if she does this all the time, she's going to show you, yeah, here's what other communities do, and this works, this doesn't. For the next meeting, and we'll see if we can get the list before then, and if we get closer to it within a week or so, and someone thinks, yeah, we should have her in for 5 minutes, yeah, we'll make that request. But I do think reaching out to her, because like I said, she does this. Who do you typically see on the committee? What was on 20 years ago may not be as good as today, so to speak, because things have changed. So that would be another one. And I'd ask maybe that we can get that list well ahead of our meeting so that we all can look at that too. So, and if anybody, when we're closing in on that time next month, thinks we need it, send an email in to Kate and ask her to see if we can get her there for a 5-minute little overview. Okay. Anyone else have any questions, comments?
Okay. And then one last thing, we might want to ask her what is her recommendation out of an optimal size for a steering committee. And again, some of the other, and by the way, some of these reports I'm looking at come from the vendors who do this master planning, to see what her take on that is. And again, it doesn't mean, as you said, Katie, it doesn't mean that other people aren't involved. It just means that you're trying to make a reasonable size committee that can be effective.
All right.
Now, I noticed Mark Galvin is here, Jack. Would he like to say anything? Or?
I don't know. You guys had asked. Maybe he's just watching. His TV's broke.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman and members of the planning board. I would just say that I'm very supportive of the whole master plan process. I have talked to some of the members that are involved now and some of the people who were involved before. It is interesting, as Jack mentioned, to go read some of the old documents, the 2004 report. It looks like there were 28 members involved in the process. When you look at some of the updates, it looks like they were a little bit of a smaller group, but I'm a big believer in, I know Nancy McKenzie mentioned it at our meeting, that, a big, broad group is really a great way to go. You get lots of input, and I'm very supportive of that. And if there's anything the select board can do, I'm happy to help do that. So I think you're on the right track, and, I fully understand and realize that this is a planning board process, and I wish you well, and I'm available to help.
Okay, thank you. And just to pony off, I don't think that's a term, what Mark said, the 28 committee persons, just so you understand, they didn't all meet 28 all people at once. You might have a group that's going to report. So say the Chamber of Commerce and group would come in and do their thing. So it's not like every night, every time you met, and you had standing room only on that. Everybody had their assignments, and when the assignments got complete, then they brought them in. And as you honed it down, they kept honing it down and down and down. So it's not like you're gonna need a whole auditorium for this. Matter of fact, that's one way to lose people. You have a group of 28 and they meet every time, you're gonna lose them. So kind of keep it, we'll do this tonight and this the next meeting, and the next meeting. So that's all I have to say. Anyone else before we go? Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, who was that? Kate? What's that, Kate? Okay. I have a second, Kate. All those in favor, John?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Jack? Aye. Okay. Thank you, and see you next time.
Good night, everyone.